Welcome in to the Bro 4 Squad podcast, where we're just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching movies. This is our review of 2021's Mortal Kombat, and I am your host, the Mayor, Jeff Hornacek, here to review this episode, all of our movies on the 5 Bro 4 Squad criteria: the acting, the story, which it's Mortal Kombat, our favorite scene, the impact of the film, and its rewatchability. And tonight is a very special episode. We have good friend of the pod, Chris Mclellan, joining us, as well as the mad scientist, Brian Banner from the lab. Let's dive right into it. The acting and the cast. This is why you come to a fucking Mortal Kombat movie, for the performances, right, folks? Chris, who stood out to you, positive, negative, indifferent, in Mortal Kombat?
Positive, absolutely. Josh Lawson, man. I mean, his back has to be hurting for carrying the cast that movie. My God. Kano he sold the movie. For not good. Oh, I can't remember his name. The actor who played Raiden.
It's the guy from Tadanobu Asano from all the Thor movies. Yeah. He had a tough role. Raiden is really tough. Obviously, this is the third actor we've had playing him. I don't know, what you're supposed to do as Raiden. Are you supposed to be really ominous and this overarching figure that leads the story, or are you supposed to just kind of get us to the next fight and electrocute people and then shut the fuck up and get in the background?
I mean, if you look back at the video games, Raiden's always been a very commandeering presence. You know, he's been there. He's been a guidance for the rest of the team, I'll call it. And Chris Lambert, I mean, he did the role no favors, let's be honest. And I can't even think about Mortal Kombat Annihilation. But Tadanobu Asano, it's like he got the role but didn't know what he was doing. And they're like, just do you.
He's like, the check cleared though, right? Okay, cool. Then I'm ready to play. Brian, how about you? Good, bad, indifferent, Mortal Kombat in the acting.
I agree 100%. Josh Lawson is Kano. Was he a good actor? No. But the way that his character was played, I can look past that. Like you said, just scene stealer, everyone he's in. Somebody else that I like, Louis Tan as Cole. Whether you like the character or not, I thought he did a good job acting. And I think that's different. You need to make sure that's separated from the character and what you thought about him as he contributes to the story. What he was asked to do, I think he did well.
It was interesting to me, and I know Chris mentioned this off pod too. Cole, who's sort of like the audience in this movie, right? He's the guy who's like, "Oh, what's Mortal Kombat? I don't know what this is." As they give him all the exposition in different scenes. I think I appreciated what he did in the role, but his character just fucking annoyed me, man. It's a movie about Mortal Kombat. This is one thing that has always confused me about this role. If someone tells you have to fight or the Earth's going to be taken over, and people are like, I don't fight anymore, I'm not really interested. I'm like, shut up, tape up your hands, and go fight that four-armed dude who's in your shed trying to take your rake and shovel, right? So he played fish out of water, I thought, a little too over the top for me.
Yes, I didn't even think of it that way when you said he's the audience. He really was just the expositional character.
Yeah, 100%. In scene to scene, if there was someone in the theater or watching on HBO Max, what the fuck is happening here? He would ask that question for us.
So you just look to your friend and go, shut up, Cole.
At times.
We all know a Cole, right?
I was very appreciative at times because it's a really complex story. So keeping up with it, I needed his guidance to keep up with such a compelling, complex story.
Yeah, we're being sarcastic, by the way, if you can't tell. A guy who I actually really liked in this, and he's, I think, an awesome character actor who pops up in a lot of stuff, is Hiroyuki Sanada, who played Scorpion. He was in Endgame as well. He's the dude who Ronin kills. He's in The Wolverine as a villain, and he's just a super menacing presence. And to me, his story, through Scorpion, I could have gotten a whole movie of honestly just that, set in feudal Japan, him versus Sub-Zero or whatever the feud was that they had, because that was obviously visually the coolest shit in the film to me. And then if there was any character who I was invested in, it was him. And spoiler alert, if you're listening to this, you've seen the movie, he fucking dies in the first 20 minutes. But to me, that was like the highlight of the film, was his character and his performance. All right, are we ready to move on to what is going to be very interesting for Mortal Kombat, the story and the plot?
Let's do it.
All right, so according to IMDb, the plot synopsis for Mortal Kombat says MMA fighter Cole Young seeks out Earth's greatest champions in order to stand against the enemies of Outworld in a high-stakes battle for the universe. Banner, story plot in this iteration of Mortal Kombat. What did it do for you?
Look, you're not going into this movie thinking it's going to win any awards, right? It's a movie about a fight tournament. There was just enough story with the stuff with Scorpion and his lineage going into Cole that wasn't quite annoying enough where he got me from one fight to another. Again, you don't need that much here. Just give me something to connect the dots. It's like I'm sitting at fucking Chili's with my kids menu waiting for my food. I'm just connecting the dots from fight to fight.
Yeah, I think it's weird Chili still brings it out to you. It says 14 and under, I believe.
It's fine. It's fine.
You have a beard. It weirds out the other patrons.
I think also the fact that we didn't actually get the tournament in this movie helped the story a lot.
I was going to say, and Chris, as kind of a Mortal Kombat superfan, I'm interested to get your take, because I actually thought it was really unique and cool that this entire movie, the actual Mortal Kombat tournament, doesn't even happen. What did you think?
That's something I've been actually trying to figure out how to weasel in here. I think they only did it for the sole purpose of, we're going to get a sequel. You know, whether the movie does well or not, there's no Mortal Kombat. Everyone wants to see Mortal Kombat. WB has to greenlight a sequel at some point in time. That being said, it just fucks with it so bad. I mean, Raiden can't intervene in the competition, so he doesn't, but it's not the competition. And I don't think he realizes that, even though when he does intervene, it just makes no sense. Like, the whole promise of Mortal Kombat itself leads up to so much within the story, but it all just gets swept under the rug.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, this kind of feels like a prequel film in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
And also Raiden, just as an aside, I mean, total narc, right? Like, he just constantly keeps threatening that he's going to tell to the Elder Gods, and Shang Tsung is just like, dude, shut the fuck up. Like,
shit or get off the pot.
Right, let's murder each other in this temple. Like, it isn't Mortal Kombat. I just thought it was really interesting that, I mean, creatively, it's a bold decision to have a movie called Mortal Kombat based on the game Mortal Kombat that doesn't actually have the Mortal Kombat tournament in it.
I read something today that they want this to be a trilogy. You have pre-tournament, tournament, and post-tournament as your three movies. Which I'm intrigued, if we make it that far, what the fuck are you going to do with a post-tournament? Like, in theory, everybody but one person is going to be dead, right?
If the tournament is operated correctly, then yes, right?
Yeah.
So, that'll be a really interesting third movie.
Yeah, unless there's some sort of twist at the end of the tournament movie where Outworld
Why would
wins.
they put a twist in it?
Now it's Earthrealm trying to, reclaim Earthrealm for itself and not Outworld.
Now, Chris, help refresh my memory. Is Shao Kahn referenced in this movie? I know he doesn't show up, but
I want to say Shang Tsung mentioned him at least once.
Okay.
Not gonna lie, I was kind of high when I watched the movie.
Nice.
Oh, it was awesome.
That's great.
The only time I could have thought was that scene where Shang Tsung was like signing all the free agents in his little temple, and Goro shows up. That might have been the one time he would have done it, where he's basically holding like the NFL Combine for his Mortal Kombat team.
It was, I want to say Raiden referenced Shao Kahn and like telling off Shang Tsung essentially.
Okay.
Which, who knows if they're going to build on that. If they build on that, are they going to build on Kotal Khan being the original ruler of Outworld? Are we going to see, Melina more? Is she going to come back?
And correct me if I'm wrong, too, Quan Chi is not in this movie either, right? Even with Scorpions. I'm trying to look through the cast list.
Quan Chi wasn't in this movie.
Okay, so they left intentionally, like we're talking. Obviously, the end teases a big character as well for the sequel in Johnny Cage, but they left a lot of clubs in the bag, if you can. I don't want to say too many, but there's definitely a lot of material out there for the sequel, even just from like the original 2 games, which will be kind of interesting how they play with that.
I mean, even then they teased at is it Quan Chi or Ermac and the medallion that Kano steals that Liu Kang tells him to put back, and that's one of those. Did he end up giving the amulet back? Does Shang Tsung have it now? Are we gonna see that in the sequel? And you have Katana's fan that's in the temple. So are we not gonna see her? Is she already used? And I'm excited to see what they do with the sequel if one gets greenlit.
I would like to hope too. No disrespect, but a little bit of disrespect to the cast here. If the budget's higher for the sequel, maybe we can get a little bit more name cachet with some of the, like who's going to play Johnny Cage. That can be something we talk about in Impact. Moving on to best scene, I'm just going to go ahead and steal this one first, so fuck you guys. It has to be for me when Shang Tsung enters Raiden's temple, and he basically just says, like, we're crashing the party, like, your little lightning ADT security fence can't hold us, and basically all hell breaks loose. Like, Jax figures out how to use his arms, Liu Kang, like, cries because his brother gets his soul sucked. Basically, like, it's just like a 15-minute badass fight scene where it's like 4 different fights happening at once. And for me, I was like, this is why I fucking put this movie on, was for this adrenaline rush right here. Chris, how about you?
I'd have to say it's a tie. Easily the first fight between Sub-Zero and Scorpion, that was just great. To me, that's what I came to see Mortal Kombat for. You have the gratuitous violence, you have amazing fight choreography. I mean, Joe Taslim, correct me if I'm wrong, he started the Raid, which fantastic movie. Oh my god. I mean, it was great. You got Mortal Kombat shit. You got Sub-Zero versus Scorpion, which to me and for a lot of people out there, that is the staple of Mortal Kombat.
That's the fight.
Yeah. Touching on the end, I think the editing took a lot away from that fight, which is why I'm just sticking with the first one. But that, or when Jax loses his arms.
Well, fuck you, Chris. I don't know what I'm going to talk about now.
It was great. I'll leave it at that. It was great. Feel free to delve in there.
Yeah, no, I agree. Those were my 2 best scenes. That first one, we've always said on this pod, your first scene doesn't have to be the best scene, but it's got to set a tone. And that fucking fight scene set a tone. Like, I knew exactly what I was getting into. And it just set the tone for the rest of the movie. And then when Jax loses his arms, there's a moment where I was like, maybe they actually fucking killed him. Like, it legit thought he died. But that was a really cool fight scene.
Did he, like, smash his face off, I think, a rebar or something?
Yeah.
Yeah,
after he freezes his arms off and rips them out of the sockets, kicks him down a fucking elevator shaft and bounces his face off of every floor all the way down.
Sounds like my first marriage. I mean, for Jax, he's just like, shoot me up with some cortisone, bro. I'm ready to go. It's fine. I think maybe the coolest visual in the movie was that scene, too, when Sub-Zero freezes the edge of Jax's gun and the shrapnel is, like, kind of coming out still as he fires.
Yeah.
To me, that was like, I could see some dude, like, in the VFX department. He's like, dude, I don't care what the fuck you do in this movie. I have this concept that we have to do now that, like, we have the CGI budget to do it. Because if you look at the 1995 Mortal Kombat, I mean, just Goro alone, you were like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't have tried to make this movie. And that VFX shot, I was like, all right, yeah, this is the time for Mortal Kombat to be introduced to us because you can actually do it visually properly, which was great.
You're hating on Goro in the original. I gotta say, he was better than this Goro. Let's be honest. The 95 Goro, he talked. He was a smart aleck. I mean, him crushing Johnny Cage's sunglasses only to get punched in the dick.
I am kind of disappointed how much they really did sort of turn. His introduction in this movie is teased, you're like, fuck yeah, dude, this guy's gonna be a big part of this movie.
Oh yeah.
And number one, to lose to Cole of all people, even when he figures out his powers, was kind of annoying to me. But he was really just kind of relegated to like a grunt in this. And I got serious homages to the end of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: Secret of the Ooze, the way that
Yep.
Cole like knocking down the pillars in his shed when they fight Super Shredder. But yeah, I agree. I hope they find. I mean, it's Mortal Kombat. I guess you'd bring anybody back. But Goro is probably my favorite character in the whole series, so I definitely want more of him. And don't put Shiva in the next movie and try to act like that's the same thing, because it's not.
That's exactly what I was gonna say too. Expect Shiva in the sequel, not Goro, just like Annihilation did for the '95 original.
Shiva comes back like, "Who hit my man? Who hit my man?" She's looking for Cole. All right, our next category is the impact of this movie. So basically, either the lasting impact after you saw it, what you think it could do going forward, or kind of anything you want to say about the film that doesn't really fit to any of the other categories. Chris, you're probably the biggest Mortal Kombat fan on the review tonight. Right after you saw it, what were your thoughts, either going forward for the movie, or were you finally pleased that we got the Mortal Kombat that fans have wanted for quite some time?
I was pleased. This wasn't the Mortal Kombat that I wanted, for the main fact, we talked about this before. This Mortal Kombat movie has no Mortal Kombat in it whatsoever. You can't call yourself Mortal Kombat and not even touch Mortal Kombat.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, it's what I want going into a film about otherworldly beings fighting humans with superpowers and dragons and whatnot. I mean, you had the fan service one-liners and Easter eggs. You had gratuitous violence. You had, the fucks here and there from Kano, which
he got his
money worth. I think R was a good. Yeah, R was a great choice for this movie. No, it was everything I wanted, minus Cole. Right. I mean, they held your hand throughout so much of the movie. Like, okay, we understand he's going to be, spoiler, Scorpion's blood relative. And they go from the baby to Cole. Okay, it's clear in everyone's mind who he is. But you got to have the black and yellow on the gloves, on his robe, on the friendship bracelet his daughter makes.
The friendship.
Come on.
And also, his family really was just used as like bait. Like, when they put people in a film, like only so they can get in situations that the protagonist uses to like rescue them.
Super convenient.
Oh, yeah.
His poor wife and daughter.
Without his wife and daughter, though, Cole would have lost the fight against Goro. Cole has yet to win a one-on-one fight against anyone in that movie.
Yeah, I'm just not impressed with Cole, to be honest. If I'm a scout, I'd just say he doesn't have what it takes. He's a minor leaguer. But I'm glad you were pleased from... this felt very true to the game. It's definitely a flawed movie, especially narratively. I mean, I don't really know what we can expect. Like, what is the ceiling for a Mortal Kombat film in terms of storytelling? But I agree. I think R was the right choice, and this was just an adrenaline rush for me through and through. And I would recommend this probably to anybody that is a fan of the games, because I will say it knows what it is, and it doesn't really try to be something it's not, which I appreciate. Like, this movie is not trying to be Pride and Prejudice. It is Mortal Kombat. Even if it literally isn't Mortal Kombat, if you know what I'm saying, because the tournament doesn't happen. It at least felt true to it in terms of the gratuitous violence, and then the way that it treated some of the characters like Sub-Zero and Scorpion. Brian, what do you think?
I think... Is it safe to say this movie was successful? I think it got helped a little bit with HBO Max releasing it as well, but I think overall this is going to be a successful movie. Would you agree?
Yeah, I'll look at the box office right now, but yeah.
I think it was $50 million, which is pretty close to its budget. And that was as of last week, maybe.
Yeah, it looks like now worldwide we're up to 67 million. So considering the state of theaters right now, you have to be pleased with that, right?
Yeah.
Brothers?
So with the success of that, I think that people of our generation, people that are in their, late 20s, early 30s, maybe even into their 40s, are going to go and start looking back at our childhood and reimagining these stories, right? Like we had said earlier in story, this is a Mortal Kombat without Mortal Kombat. It was about getting to Mortal Kombat. I mean, we can only assume in the sequel we're going to get to, it's kind of reimagining this game. to make a narrative that will fit the game, essentially. So I think that with this being successful, we're going to start having these new creative things coming out of old entities, like games. I mean, you even saw it with Sonic recently. Granted, that was a horrible pile of dog shit, but you're going to start to see these older things. You're like, oh shit, I remember Rugrats, and they're going to make an adult version of that.
Rugrats actually has a new show on Paramount Plus.
Yeah, actually, as soon as I said that, I was like, well, fuck.
I do think and like this was not comparing these two at all, but this was the issue with the Jean-Claude Van Damme Street Fighter as well. But the side-scroller fighting games, like Mortal Kombat probably has more of a story than most of those movies, but the way the video game is played, there isn't like a campaign mode. Like it's just you fight the next person on the pillar. So
that's actually not true. Later on in the games, I want to say it was around 5 or 6. Don't quote me on that. They actually introduced a storyline to which, if they would just adapt the storyline into Mortal Kombat, you could keep these movies going along as long as the games are around, honestly.
And I have a feeling they'll. I mean, if these are popular, this is an IP that they're going to try and milk every last penny out of it they can. I mean, it's been dormant for, when was Annihilation? 98? So it's been dormant in terms of live action on the big screen for, 22, 23 years. Obviously, they've been making money off the video games, but I think this might, like Brian said, this might awaken sort of a new audience that either will go back to the games, and now, like, you've really just pumped more or infused more money into that cash cow, or maybe now they can have a successful franchise, because Annihilation felt like a really half-assed attempt to turn that into a franchise back in the late 90s.
I think Annihilation was literally an excuse to not have to give up the rights to the Mortal Kombat name. I think it's almost the exact situation of what Fox did with the Fantastic Four rights. Hey, we're going to pump a really shitty thing out there so that we don't have to get the rights up.
We see it all too often. All right, the last category in our review is the rewatchability of this movie. Brian, is this a movie you will go back and revisit at any point?
Abso-fucking-lutely. It was a fucking blast. I watched the first 30 minutes of it super hungover and enjoyed the shit out of it. So then I just got super stoned and watched the entire thing, and it was awesome. It's not, you don't have to take too seriously. There's not much of a story, and it's just great fight choreography in your face the whole time.
Chris, how about you?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, this is a bro film through and through. Hang out with the guys, watch people beat the shit out of each other. Especially if you're friends with a bunch of nerds and you got the leg sweep, you got the bicycle kick. It's perfect for what it is, and It's just a video game movie.
Totally agree. This is one that, like, you don't really need to be paying too close attention to it. If it's on in the background, you'll know the parts that you need to lock in on just because, like, things ramp up. And, like, I think Chris said it perfectly. It's just a bro movie, man. Like, it's everything that I loved about the game, like the gratuitous violence and blood. And I think visually it looks pretty good, to be honest. That was the one thing I was worried about, was how the CGI would look. And I was pretty impressed with it. So I know HBO Max's formula is, I think they leave these on for like a month after the release and then take them away. Like, I think they did that with Wonder Woman 84 and Godzilla vs. Kong. So I'm definitely going to have to make sure to catch this at least one more time before it gets removed. This
movie is like a perfect, like, Tuesday night, I got a 6-pack and half a pizza in the fridge. I'm just going to heat that bad boy up and sit down, drink those beers, and watch this movie.
How did you not finish the full pizza? That's unlike you.
I didn't say it was like in my fridge. It was like somebody else's. And how do you know I didn't buy 2 pizzas? Maybe I ate 1.5 pizzas.
That's a good point.
I did have Geiger over, so we actually ordered 10, that fat fuck.
Yeah, he eats like 4 on his own. All right, before we let the people go, Chris, anything you want to plug? You're a great follow on Twitter, I know, so you should at least tell the people where they can find you there.
Follow me on Twitter at Chrisdofar. Actually, it's Chrisdofar, QREASDO or DAFUR, and same thing on Twitch too. I'm a simple guy, man. I know what I like and I do it.
Hell yeah.
There we
Brian,
go.
what do you want to leave the people with?
I don't know. Just go watch this movie. It's a lot of fun. Enjoy yourselves.
And be sure to leave, like, what I would do is move the furniture in front of your TV. That way you can practice some of the moves as you watch them.
Yeah, you definitely want to get that coffee table out of the way because that's a broken toe. Got written all over it.
Broken toe is best case scenario, the way I do my karate. It's a fucking split open head. All right, for Chris Mclellan and the mad scientist Brian Banner, I'm the mayor, Jeff Hornacek, and we are the Bro Force Squad podcast. Thank you guys for checking us out. Follow us on Twitter at Bro Force Squad. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, pretty much anywhere you get your podcasts if you type in Bro Force Squad as 3 separate words. And you can check out everything we post and our squad blog on our website, broforcesquad.com. Till next time, I think we have sweet tickets actually to Mortal Kombat. Is it catered, Brian?
Yes.
You don't know. You just lied. You said that.
What? Me lie? I never lie. Cheat. Ever.
It's gonna be no food now. I'm gonna be pissed. Should have eaten before.